What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Adventure Outpost, your hub for all things movie related. Another weekend has come and gone. It is once again time for us to talk those juicy box office numbers. Like always, if you enjoy these videos, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, drop some comments down below. It's how we help this channel grow. We have a plethora of good stuff to get into today, so we're not going to waste any time. We're going to dive into all of that good stuff. And we're going to kick it off, as always, with the 2023 box office chart. This is our chart taking a look week over week, how we've done at the box office, how many weekends we have managed to stay over the $100 million mark. We take a look here at this chart. As you can see, week 20, we're in the 20th week of the year. We hit $118 million in the top 10. That is up 25% over the previous week. And if you look now, we're about at the halfway mark. We've had 20 weeks. We are halfway. We have done 10 weekends over 100 million, 10 weekends under 100 million. So we're shooting at the 50th percentile right now. So not too bad. We're definitely chugging along. Hopefully now with the summer coming along, we're going to be able to keep it over 100 million for a lot of weekends right now. Like we've talked ad nauseum week over week here, there are a lot of movies coming out, and we should not have another weekend under 100 million for a while. This weekend, Little Mermaid, obviously, hopefully we're going to have a $100 million opening there. Weekend after that, you got Spider-Man, then you got Transformers, then we've got Elemental and The Flash, then we've got that R-rated comedy No Hard Feelings, which obviously I don't think that'll hit us over 100 million, but maybe hopefully the second weekend of Flash and Elemental with that movie will hopefully help keep us over 100 million. Then we get Indiana Jones, then you get fucking Mission Impossible, then we have Barbie and Oppenheimer. So really, we should not dip under 100 million again until August, and that's very fantastic. That'll put us in good leagues right now. Okay, if we're hoping to end the year with more weekends over 100 million than less. But now we'll turn our attention to the top 10, and everyone's question is on our mind is, how did Fast 10 do this weekend? Did it join the upper echelon of Fast and Furious movies that did absolute gangbusters at the box office? Did it join the absolute bottom of the barrel that it just did terrible at the box office? Or was it somewhere right in the middle? And the answer there is, it was somewhere right in the middle. It wasn't the best. It wasn't anywhere near the best of what the Fast franchise has been able to pull off, but it wasn't anywhere near the worst either. It settled right there in the middle. We're going to take a look now here at the top 10. Fast X takes the number one spot with $67.5 million opening weekend off of a $340 million budget. That is a stupid fucking budget. It is, I don't know, that is absolutely insane. That's so much fucking money for this franchise, especially considering like Fast 9 didn't even do like that well, that you would throw this amount of money at this movie. It's just, it blows my mind that these movies get away with these types of budgets. Like $340 million is fucking absurd and disgusting, and it should not be a thing. And also, like, I don't care how deep I am into the franchise, if I'm spending $340 million and I get a $67 million opening weekend, that is fucking worrying. Obviously, when you look at the worldwide picture, which these movies are huge worldwide juggernauts, they do absolute gangbusters worldwide, it picks it up. But here domestically, $67 million off his $340 million budget, I would be shitting my fucking pants as an executive. It blows my mind that we spend that amount of money on movies. It's fucking insane. In second place, Guardians of the Galaxy in its third weekend drops 48.4%, takes in $31 million, bringing its total domestic haul to $266 million of a $250 million budget. So it does what Ant-Man was not able to do, and that was make its budget back domestically, at least. In third place, we got the Super Mario Brothers movie in its seventh week, still in the top 5 in its seventh week. It drops 22.3%. It takes in $9.8 million, bringing its total domestic haul to $549 million of a $100 million budget. In fourth place, we've got The Book Club, The Next Chapter, in its second week, drops 55.1%, takes in $3 million, brings its total domestic haul to $13 million off of a $20 million budget. Looks like that movie will be struggling to break even. And then rounding out the top 5 is Evil Dead Rise in its fifth week, drops 36.2%, takes in $2.3 million, brings its total domestic haul to $64 million off of a $30 million budget. Over on the back 5, we've got John Wick Chapter 4 in its 9th weekend. That is something we're going to talk about in just a little bit. An absolute huge victory for a movie in 2023. In its 9th weekend in the top 10, drops still only 36.1%. This movie continues to have just a fantastic holdover. It takes in $1.3 million, brings its total domestic haul to $185 million off of a $100 million budget. In 7th place, we've got Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret, in its 4th week, drops 47.3%, takes in $1.326 6, just below John Wick, to bring its total domestic haul to $18 million off of a $30 million budget. So like Book Club, this movie is going to struggle to get back its initial budget. Then we've got in 8th place that fucking good old movie Hypnotic, and its second week drops 65.6%, takes in $825,000 to bring its total domestic haul to $4 million off of a $65 million budget. This movie will be going down as one of the biggest box office bombs of 2023. Just staggeringly insane that somebody would spend $65 million on this movie. In 9th place, somehow still hanging around in there, in the movie Love Again, in its third week, drops 72.4%. That is an insane drop-off. It takes in $400,000 to bring its total domestic haul to $5.9 million off of a $9 million budget. Crazy that it couldn't even make back $9 million. And rounding out the top 10, another movie that we're going to talk about in a little bit, having a stellar performance here in the top 10, is Dungeons & Dragons Honor Amongst Thieves in its 8th week in the top 10. Drops 51.4%, takes in $385,000 to bring its total domestic haul to $92 million of a $150 million budget. Now, as always, we like to take a look at our fallen heroes. These are our heroes that did their time in the top 10, but have now bowed out for greener passages. We have one movie this week that has bowed out of the top 10. We take a look here at the chart. After 6 weeks on the chart, Air finally bows out of the top 10. You made your money, you had your say, but now it is time for you to bow out for greener passages. And as always, we salute you. Now, talking before about that Fast X opening, $67.5 million, puts it right about in the middle of the Fast openings. I compiled a whole list of all of the opening weekends for the Fast movies so that we could see just how well this Fast X did. And like I said, it's somewhere right in the middle of the threshold here for all of the Fast movies. We'll take a look here at this chart and we'll see just what the best ones were and what the worst ones were. We take a look here at the chart. And if you look, as you said, right there in the middle, I have it highlighted, is Fast X with $67.5 million. But we'll go all the way down to the bottom. You got in dead last was Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift, coming out in 2006, made only $23 million in its opening weekend. Just ahead of that was the original from 2001, The Fast and the Furious, made $40 million. Ahead of that, you got the first sequel, Too Fast, Too Furious, coming out in 2003, made $50 million. We had the spin-off Hobbs and Shaw, made $60 million. Just ahead of that is the latest one coming out, Fast X, with $67.5 million. Couldn't even beat 2021's Fast 9, which made $70 million. And keep in mind that Fast 9 came out, we were still in the midst of the pandemic. You were still in a time where not a lot of people wanted to go back to the theaters. It was still very just tough for movies to make business and make money in 2021. It was still a very weird time at the box office. So the fact that Fast 10 couldn't even beat that opening weekend, I think is finally starting to start a little fatigue toward this franchise. I think 10 movies in, I think it's safe to say that people, I think, have finally hit their limit in what they're willing to go along on these journeys with these movies. They're just absolutely absurd. I saw it over the weekend. I like Jason Momoa in it. Everything else is just kind of really fucking stupid. But I mean, that's what you're like. It's what you expect from these movies. So I can't blame myself. I knew what was going to I knew what I'm getting going into this movie. So I can't blame myself for being like, it's infuriating. It's like I knew it was going to be infuriating. The last 5 of them have been like infuriating. So I have only myself to blame for being disappointed by the movie. But the fact that this movie couldn't beat 2021's opening weekend might be a sign that these movies are finally starting to run out of gas. Just ahead of Fast 9 was the 4th film in the franchise, simply titled Fast and Furious. Coming out in 2009, made $70.9 million, just ahead of Fast 9. Then we start to get to the bread, the butter. These movies were when the Fast saga was just firing on all cylinders. And it started with Fast 5 in 2011, opening weekend of $86 million. Then you had Fast and Furious 6 from 2013, made $97 million. Then you had The Fate of the Furious from 2017, making $98 million. And then the absolute fucking highs, the biggest opening in the Fast Saga franchise, was Furious 7 from 2015, opening to $147 million. What an absolute opening there. Comes with the unfortunate circumstance of it being the movie where we were saying goodbye to Paul Walker after his unfortunate death. So even though it's, not great to say, I wonder if this movie's opening would have been as high if Paul Walker didn't die. I don't think it would have been. I think this movie might have probably tapped out around where the other ones were, like right around 100 million, but coupled with his unfortunate demise, I think a lot of people went and put their asses in that seat opening weekend to see just how they were going to deal with the fact that one of their biggest stars had bit the dust. And as you can see, it paid off $147 million. Not paid off in that they were hoping for something like that, but in the best circumstance that you could hope for in a situation like that, they had an absolute gangbusters opening, something that they'll be chasing for the rest of this saga that I don't think will come anywhere near close, especially if we've seen these diminishing returns in Fast 9 and Fast 10. I think it's safe to assume that Fast 11, and if there is a Fast 12, are going to probably be somewhere in this middle of the middle of the barrel to probably lower down the totem pole, considering that I think a lot of people are starting to check out on these bad boys. But we turn our attention over to the absolute money-making machine of 2023, which was the Super Mario Bros. Movie. We are still charting along, seeing just how high up it's going to chart on its worldwide of all-time grosses and domestic of all-time grosses. We'll start, as always, with our worldwide grosses. And if you take a look here, Super Mario Bros. Has now made enough money to put itself ahead of Iron Man 3. Last weekend, it was one behind it. It seems to be moving up one movie at a time, week over week. Right now, it's sitting in the 23rd spot, just ahead of Iron Man 3 with $1.238 million. Just ahead of that, in the 22nd spot, is The Fate of the Furious, which made $1.238 billion as well. It is only about $20,000 behind The Fate of the Furious right now. So chances are, while we're making this video, while we're talking about this right now, Super Mario Brothers will have passed The Fate of the Furious to be the 22nd highest grossing movie of all time. And then its sights set to The Incredibles 2 in the 21st spot, which made $1.242 billion. So a little bit of a ways to go to pass Incredibles 2, but as we've seen Super Mario Brothers do, it just continues to break records, and I firmly expect it to just continue moving up this chart as we go along. For as long as this movie is in theaters, it's going to continue to make business. It rained this whole weekend up in the Northeast coast, so at my theater this weekend, it was absolutely insane. And the craziest thing is we were getting sellouts of Super Mario Brothers and Guardians of the Galaxy, but no sellouts on Fast X, and Fast X was in the biggest theaters. Very interesting. Obviously easier to sell out smaller theaters, but the fact that the demand is still there for Super Mario Brothers and Guardians overseeing the new Fast X movie really goes to show just how much of a juggernaut Super Mario Brothers is, and now by extension Guardians of the Galaxy is following along suit with that. Fast X looks like, at least here domestically, it's going to be a very short-lived domestic haul. I think this movie is obviously going to make the wide amount of its money worldwide. I don't think domestic is going to put up much of a fight. But now we take a look at our domestic highest grossers of all time, and if you see, Super Mario Brothers has now moved past The Lion King. Last weekend it was sitting right behind The Lion King. It now sits at the 14th spot, just ahead of The Lion King, with $549 million in the 14th spot. Once again, sets its sight on The Incredibles 2 now. It looks like it has another animated adventure that it has to beat, both worldwide and domestic right now. I think it will beat it worldwide. I don't know if it's got the mustard to beat The Incredibles 2 domestically. $608 million. That is a lot to go through. You're at 549 right now. You got at least another 60 million you got to do domestically to pass that, and I just don't think Super Mario Brothers has another 60 million domestically in it. It seems that it tops out around like 8-9 million right now, and that's only going to continue to go down as new movies come out, especially the weekend of June 2nd. You got Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse coming out, so all eyes are going to turn to that now for animated families going to check out movies. So I think Super Mario Brothers is going to settle now here domestically in the 14th spot, but still very impressive. If it makes it to 600 million, that would be a feat in and of itself. Don't think it's going to do that. I think it'll probably top out somewhere around in the 570 million range, but still, absolute fucking win for the Super Mario Brothers movie. We now take a look at our top 10 worldwide for 2023. We go here to the chart. Super Mario Brothers movie obviously just holding strong in the top spot with $1.238 billion. Full River Red right behind that with $673 million. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, after only 3 weeks, has made $659 million. That is an absolutely huge feat. It looks like this movie, with just continued trajectory, is probably going to top out just under $1 billion, but that is an absolute huge win that Marvel desperately needed this year. Just behind that is The Wandering Earth 2 at $604 million. You got Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania rounding out the top 5 with $475 million. In 6th place, we've got John Wick Chapter 4 with $425 million. Debuting on the chart in the 7th spot is Fast X with $318 million. So with that $340 million price tag, an opening of $318 million worldwide is definitely something that will help you breathe a little bit easier towards making your money back. back. But this movie still has a ways to go, I'm pretty sure, based on marketing and everything, before this movie starts turning a profit. In the 8th spot, we got Creed 3 with $273 million. Boonie Bears in 9th place with $221 million. And Dungeons & Dragons taking up the rear with $207 million. And with the debut of Fast X in the top 10, it knocks out Megan from 2023 back in January. We take a look here at the top 10 domestic for 2023. We got the Super Mario Brothers movie, obviously King of the Mountain with $549 million. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 in 2nd place with $266 million. Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania in 3rd spot with $214 million. John Wick Chapter 4 with $185 million. Creed 3 with $156 million. Scream 6 with $108 million. Megan with $95 million, Dungeons & Dragons with $92 million, Fast X debuting on the chart in the 9th spot with $67.5 million, and rounding out the top 10 is Cocaine Bear with $64 million. Fast X debuting on the chart knocks out Evil Dead Rise, which had just debuted on the chart last weekend, so it spent all of 1 week in the top 10 domestic before bowing out. Sorry, Evil Dead Rise. Now we take a look at one of my favorite charts to consider looking at, and that is the 2023 Top 10 Chart Riders. These are our movies that we take a look at to see what had the best legs here at the box office in 2023. We tally it up week over week, so at the end of the year we can take a look and see just what movies had the best legs here at the box office for 2023. So without further ado, we take a look here at this chart. And as you can see, 2023 Top 10 Chart Riders. At the bottom, we got Cocaine Bear locked in at 5 weeks. Showing up here in the charts now in the 9th spot, we got Evil Dead Rise in 5 weeks. Look at that. That movie's chugging along, rising up the ranks. It's still in the top 5 in the top 10, so it most definitely is going to get a few more weeks out of it here, hopefully. The median average of movies that seem to last only 6 weeks here at the theater, we got a new movie joining their leagues. We have Scream 6, Creed 3, Jesus Revolution, Megan, Missing, and now Air joins the list at 6 weeks apiece, locked in for the top 10. Just ahead of that, locked in at 7 weeks, is Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. The Super Mario Brothers jumps ahead of it with being 7 weeks here in the chart. It's obviously going to get an 8. The question will be is how high is the Super Mario Brothers movie going to climb? Because right now it's 7 weeks in, and it has never dropped lower than 3rd place. So this movie is just going to quietly continue to make money, and it will be interesting to see if it gets up to the upper echelon of movies that have spent the most amount of time here in the top 10. Just ahead of that, we got A Man Called Otto locked in at 8 weeks. And then we talk about the 2 new big ones debuting here, getting up there, making some history. Dungeons & Dragons, who would have thought? 8 weeks in the top 10 right now. Does it have a 9th in it? It's been sitting pretty in the top 10 spot. I think this weekend might have been its last weekend in the top 10. There is a plethora of movies coming out Memorial Day weekend. So I think Dungeons & Dragons is going to end up locking in at 8 weeks, being the first movie to join A Man Called Otto, locked in at 8 weeks. But still, 8 weeks is a very impressive and huge performance by Dungeons & Dragons. And just ahead of that, we got in at 9 weeks right now is John Wick Chapter 4. John Wick is still sitting pretty in the 6 and 7 spot. It has never dropped lower than 7th place right now. So it's possible that John Wick can get up into these upper echelon movies. We're looking for any 2023 movie that can give these 2022 holdover movies a run at the title. Because right there, locked in at the top spots, you got Puss in Boots, locked in at 11 weeks from 2022, and Avatar: The Way of Water locked in at 12 weeks from 2022. So all eyes are on John Wick, all eyes are on the Super Mario Brothers movie to see if either one of those are going to be able to put a dent in the 2022 holdover movies and be able to claim the top spot for the best legs of 2023. Somebody's got to do it. You can't let these 2022 movies reign supreme in 2023. Someone's got to do it. John Wick Chapter 4, there's a lot of movies coming out now, so I don't know how many more weeks it has in it. Hopefully, I think it might at least get enough to maybe tie Puss in Boots, but I don't know if it's going to have enough to take the crown. Super Mario Brothers might, though. Super Mario Brothers has never, 7 weeks in, has never dropped below 3rd place in the top 10. So that right now is very promising that movie can take number 1 in just about everything for this year and maybe overtake Avatar: The Way of Water here for the most weeks in the top 10 in 2023. We'll just have to wait and see. With the release of Fast X, we can return once again to my 2023 top 10 bets. These were my bets for the 10 movies that would be the biggest movies of the year worldwide. I don't look at domestic. I chose to go with worldwide for this one because it seemed like an easier pick, even though I am way off on my positionings for where all of these movies are. So far, every movie that I've predicted would be in there has ended up in the top 10 right now. Will it stay in there by the end of the year? Remains to be seen. But right now, we're doing pretty good. We're gonna take a look here at the chart. So if you see, we got our 2023 top 10 bets. First place, I had Little Mermaid. This weekend, we're gonna have to wait and see what's gonna happen with that. Second place, I had Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. I did guess correctly that that movie would be in there, but right now it is in the third spot. But I think it might get enough to get up into the second spot. I might be in the clear on that one. Then we had in third spot, I was going to say Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning. In fourth, I was way off in predicting that Super Mario Brothers movie would only be the fourth highest grossing movie of the year. Right now, it is sitting pretty in the first spot, and I don't think any movie is going to touch it. And then right now with the debut of Fast X, I got another one on the chart here. I predicted this movie was going to be the fifth highest grossing movie of the year. I'm right that it is in the top 10 bets right now, but right now it is in the seventh spot. The question remains to be seen just how high up this movie is going to climb. Worldwide, though, they always end up tending to land somewhere in the 700 million range. So right now, hopefully it is enough to get itself to the fifth spot. And I'm right on that one again. In sixth, I'm claiming The Marvels. In seventh, I'm claiming Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. In eighth, I guess Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Ant-Man and the Wasp right now sitting pretty in the fifth spot, but I imagine that that one is going to dip as more and more movies come out. So I think this eighth spot is going to actually be pretty solid for this movie. I think I might get it right there on the line. In ninth spot, I claimed Oppenheimer, and rounding out the top 10 is Aquaman. I do not feel comfortable with many of my choices now. Aquaman, after the performance of Shazam, I just don't see Aquaman. I really should have switched out Aquaman for The Flash, because I think The Flash now is going to be the one to get in here and not Aquaman. It seems that the DCEU movies that aren't part of the reset, like The Flash, are just going to do absolutely terrible. So I don't know what I was thinking putting Aquaman in here. Obviously, what I was thinking was the first Aquaman did $1 billion, so I was expecting to put this one in here, but I just don't think this one's going to cut it. I really should have switched it out for The Flash. And then now it's not promising the reviews coming out of Cannes for Indiana Jones, so it's going to see how that's going to affect that movie coming out. Marvel, outside of Guardians, has been a shit show, so who knows what the Marvels is going to do. Clearly, Super Mario Brothers movie, I did not put enough faith in to put it at number one. I put Little Mermaid at number one for the year. And honestly, I still think Little Mermaid is going to get up there. I think Little Mermaid might end up settling for the second spot now. But still, I'm just all over the place on these movies. It was a lot of wild bets that I threw out there. Usually the companion chart with this is to then go to the blockbuster status chart, which is all of the movies that I picked that would make over 100 million domestically. But with Fast X's opening, it did not cross over the $100 million threshold yet, so I can't check that one off. I probably will be by the end of next weekend. I would imagine that it will do enough to put it over the 100 million domestically after Memorial Day weekend. So that's going to be a question that we have now for next week, because that is it for the charts for today. So now all questions start to arise now. What are we going to do this weekend here in Memorial Day weekend? The question is, how much is Little Mermaid going to put up? That movie, what's it going to do? Is there enough out there that people are still going to come to this movie? Is all the vitriol that people have been leveling at it online going to factor into people staying away from this movie? I don't think that's going to be the case. I think people are still going to go see this. It's The Little Mermaid. It's an absolute fucking classic animated movie, one of the biggest animated movies, along with The Lion King and Aladdin. And they all got their live action treatments, and they both made over $1 billion too. And they all had the same annoying, vitriol spewed at it that everyone else did. So I don't think it's going to hurt this movie at all in the long run. I think it's going to end up doing big business. It's always funny too, the vitriol that they throw at these movies, especially with The Little Mermaid, because it's like all of it was just leveled at the fact that it was a black mermaid now, which is like the dumbest thing to complain about, especially when there were so many logical things you could complain about. The fact that it looks soulless, the fact that the creatures look too realistic, the fact that they didn't actually film underwater, so it just looks fake, the fact that it's not going to add anything new to the formula. Those are all things that you can realistically complain about not wanting to see that movie, and it would be fair. But everyone just chooses to be just weird racists and be like, I can't go watch this movie about a fictional mermaid because it's black. It's a mermaid. It's not real. Who cares? It's so dumb, the things that people choose to harp on about certain things. It's just absolutely stupid. But it's not going to hurt this movie at all. People are going to go see this movie. It's going to do absolute business. The question is how much business is this going to do? Because Memorial Day weekend sometimes is not always the biggest money-making weekend for these movies. Remember, Aladdin didn't have a big, huge opening weekend when it came out, but it went on to gross $1 billion. Top Gun Maverick came out, it had a huge opening day weekend, but it still wasn't like insane as some of these other movies do. But that movie had insane legs. So the question is going to be is what is Little Mermaid going to do this weekend in the Memorial Day weekend, especially because if it's nice out, people go out, they don't normally go to the movies. So the question will be is just how well this movie will do. Another question to look at is there are a plethora of just random ass movies coming out. And it's what are those movies going to do? How badly are those movies going to bomb? We're talking about movies like Sebastian Maniscalco's About My Father, the comedian Brett, whatever the fuck his name is, movie The Machine, Gerard Butler's random Middle East movie, Kanadar, I think it's called, coming out. There's a plethora of just random ass movies coming out this weekend. And the question is going to be, are any of those going to put up any of a dent? Are we even going to see any of those in the top 10? So there's another question to levy at. And then another question is, what are our holdover movies going to be like? What is Fast X going to do in its second week? What's its holdover going to be? Is it going to be able to maintain? Is it going to be able to do enough to get over that $100 million domestic mark? What is Guardians of the Galaxy going to do in its third week? How well is that holdover going to be? We saw last weekend that the holdover, and this past weekend that the holdover for this movie is there. The demand is there for this movie. What's it going to be like over Memorial Day weekend? And then, of course, what is Super Mario Brothers going to do this weekend? What record is it going to try and break this weekend? It's just going to be a wild time to chart along with here at the box office. I will not be working this weekend. Normally, Memorial Day weekend obviously is a big weekend to work. I will not be here because I will be off on my bachelor party, but I will obviously, as always, still be charting along with the numbers because that shit just interests me. So I will be charting along with them. The video might be longer to get out than normal. I don't know if I'll have it out on that Tuesday after Memorial Day. It might be Wednesday, depending, because I come home on that Monday from my bachelor party. So it all depends on how absolutely exhausted I am on getting it out. I'm going to try and get it out on the Tuesday as normal, but it might be Wednesday. Maybe it might be Tuesday night, depending on how I'm able to even like function. But we'll see. I will get it out to you because obviously this is going to be a big, huge weekend to go over. So I'm super excited to go over it next weekend when it comes out. So I'll absolutely get it out at some point. So be sure to be checking back to see when that drops. But that'll do it for all of us here at the Outpost in this adventure. Until the next one, you have been you. I have been me. These are the movies that we love so much. And until next time, I'll see you at the movies.